a way that a student has thought about making their mark, either within the school, within the community, and it just shows how involved students can be to make a difference. I think this also ties to our guidance program that Scott brought up, being implemented at Parkview on social emotional learning, and it just shows how we go outside of ourselves to help others to make a difference. Next we have...
Did she give them colors on purpose?
Yeah, the colors represent the different grade levels.
Yeah.
So here's another slide about that. And then we have our Golden Awards. This is a program that Mrs. Haney has started this year, and what they do is they look for input from staff members on how well classrooms are doing in each of the specials area. We have a shoe for Phi Ed, and we have an S for our STEM classes, and then there's a recorder for music. And then the other, I can't think of what that area would be, paint, art. Yes, that's a brush for art. And so the next slide shows the classrooms that have earned those awards. So for STEM, it was third grade for Mrs. Wrights, Mrs. Schneider for Phi Ed class, and then Golden Paintbrush, Mrs. Zarnock in fifth grade, and also in music it was fourth grade Mrs. Hastings class. So it shows those classrooms in each of those areas. And then similar to what the high school has done for a number of years, they have Student of the Month, and what we look for from our staff members is recommendations on Student of the Month. Any number of students is accepted, and those students win, I think this time it was McDonald's certificates, and we are going to be looking for staff members to recognize our students for things they do both inside and outside of the classroom as Students of the Month, and we'll continue to honor those students.
Can you put a teacher of the month next to that student?
Pardon me?
Can you put a teacher of the month next to that student? Can you implement that in your building?
Yeah, I'll talk to Mrs. Amy.
Cool.
So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Lee? Do you want to throw the two pictures?
Sure.
I can just quickly address those. What you see there is the, along with our ribbon cutting last week, I was able to give the class of 1969 a tour 2 Saturdays ago. So that was the group that came up before they headed to their reunion, so it was nice to catch up with that group. And then Don Bauer will be sending a picture. This past Saturday, we gave the class of 1964 a tour, and 64 was the first graduating class, which is kind of exciting. So they all moved over that January, I think it was. But the gentleman right in the middle with the white button down and glasses, gray hair, that's Dale Plotz, and he was the organizer of the reunion. So they came up about 3:30 2 Saturdays ago and took a nice walk through the building. And it's as much for them to catch up as it is to tour the building. They had a really good time sharing old stories about the building, but very impressed with the changes that had been made. The next picture, this will be a resolution later on, but the Lon, I'm sure you have my name right. Lon Walter and Jake Margolovsky, Jake is on the left and Lon is on the right, are representatives of Advanced Disposal. Over the years, the town of Williamstown had made an annual contribution to our science and environmental work in each building of $1,000 each, so they came up and presented, and the people receiving the check, Brad Siegert is on the left, is our science club advisor, and then Matt Schneider and Mackenzie Perry are our 2 officers of the science club. So, and that was nice. Jake and Lon are also both graduates of Mayville High School, so they got a chance to tour the area, get down into the FFA area and science areas as well. So it was nice for those to come up. But that is later on the meeting, but then you can take a look at the picture. The other, and I've got handouts, Scott, so for the rest, so Mr. Nennig, it's us. So while I'm handing this out, Tom can give you the quick 20-second, here's what's going to happen this week at homecoming.
Yes, homecoming just started. We postponed Powder Puff last night due to field conditions. We do have 2 games going on there tonight, and the field is holding up really well, so that's going to get postponed to Wednesday now. And our Powder Puff volleyball will be on Friday in that pep assembly. Those are 2 things that the students really enjoy. We have our miscellaneous dress-up days during the week, and every lunch hour now, during each lunch hour, they have a minute to win it contest, so they're having some fun. And kicked off a little pep assembly this morning in the new auditorium. And it was really nice because the acoustics were awesome in there and everybody could hear, and it was just a whole different atmosphere for
That's the
that.
first time all the kids have been in there. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
plenty of
Oh,
room,
awesome.
and it was very well received. We introduced the homecoming court. We'll be voting for king and queen this week, and they will get introduced Thursday night after the volleyball match before the bonfire, as long as it doesn't get rained out. Yeah.
Speaking of which, we've already contacted the local fire department. Based on what the weather could be Thursday, we'll make a call Thursday afternoon whether to set the bonfire up. The issue, as some of you heard before, is if you set it up, you need to burn it, because if not, it becomes an attraction for someone else to set it
Oh, wow.
over the next couple of days. So either we will or we won't by 2 o'clock Thursday. And then we've also talked about what to do with the weather in regards to the parade on Friday.
Full building, all that fun stuff, so.
So it's all, the
We're
class
playing it by ear a
advisors
little bit.
and Tom and I met today and we got it all laid out. So, quickly, or maybe I should say briefly, what you have in front of you is a quick summary of what Scott alluded to before. And as we head toward proficiency-based reporting, meaning that grades are simply based on the learning targets, not on compliance, not on following rules, not on turning work in. So grades can truly reflect your learning, not your behavior. We, as well as the middle school, as well as Parkview, have created what we're terming cardinal scores. And what you have in front of you on that first page was the initial work of a committee of administration and a couple key teachers from our core team within the district that then went to 3 different rounds with high school teachers over the summer. And as Tom or Scott had mentioned, the goal is to represent respectfulness, responsibility, and safety within the classroom. And what you have in front of you, that first sheet, is simply what the agreed upon identifiers among the staff would be. And where we want to keep you in the loop is that if you turn to the next page, Tom, if you want to just speak to the letter.
Yeah.
And what the purpose of that letter would be.
For juniors and seniors, if they're making the grade with safety, respectfulness, and responsibility, and a GPA, we want to be able to give them a pass to remove themselves from cardinal time, which is from 250 to 320. I've been in other districts that have done that, and it's quite an incentive. And quite honestly, if I have my 10 most common visitors of the junior and senior class, if we can get those folks, give them some incentive to be better citizens in the classroom and get the grades, it would be really nice to be able to let them leave school a little early. And that was kind of the big motivation behind that for the upperclassmen. Freshmen and sophomores would have to stay, and we would create other incentives for them during study hall, whether it be root beer floats during lunch or a movie day or something of that nature. But the Cardinal Time teachers are working on incentives with the freshmen and sophomore kids.
And those are a little later in your
Yeah.
packet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other impetus on this was during Cardinal Time, right now we're trying to house 380 plus kids. And I know Bob and Scott in the past have talked about, we don't have open campus, never have, we will not have open campus, but our Cardinal Time is specifically designed from 10 to 3 to 3:20 to get kids academic help. And right now our compliance rule is everyone has to be there. Well, if you take 380 plus kids divided among the 24 staff we have, kids are not getting the academic help they need because the 5 of you may be in good standing academically, don't need help, we're housing you. And the feedback from the teachers was if we can reduce the number of kids at the end of the day that we're housing so we can work with kids that need the academic help, that's the other result of what we're talking about. So if you go further, the next set of documents is simply Tom had presented and put together to assist teachers, and then basically what will happen is for each course that a student is enrolled in, they will receive a 3, 2, or 1. So a typical progress report would look like It will be English 9 and the academic grade, and then a score of 3, 2, or 1 in responsibility, respectableness, and safety. And on the progress report, as well as in this document, it helps define what those are. And the goal is we want to move 1s to 2s. 1s are what take up Tom's time. We want to get 1s to 2s and 2s to 3s. And also on the progress report, a parent can provide a free-form comment that can be addressing behavior and/or academics. What we've done with this is we have gone away from the standardized, I don't know how many there used to be, Tom, but there's probably 30 plus comments that a teacher just picks a number, puts it in. That's not feedback, that's picking a number. A pleasure to have in class, a pleasure to have in class, a pleasure to have in class. So what we're trying to do is get the teachers to respond to the specific things that the teacher can provide on the student behalf. Tom, anything else in 3, 2, 1 that you want to say?
It also, if a student is in jeopardy of getting a 1, it is really forcing our teachers to make a commitment to talk to the parents, email the parents, call the parents, so that communication takes place between the teacher and the parent, as well as the teacher and the student, because the goal is not to go, I got that kid, I gave him a 1. I want to prevent that and I want to fix that behavior. And one of the things that we talked about in the group that put this together as well, if you're going to give a 1, you better have communicated with the parents and you better have worked with the student on that behavior.
And what we've realized, and I believe that's in there as well, is that we want to be able to run progress reports at 4.5, 9, 13.5, and 18-week points. Traditionally, it's always been 9 and 18. Our rationale on that is that if you get nicked at 9 weeks, what's the incentive? You got to wait 9 more weeks before your opportunity to be recognized or to improve your behavior. So this first round, and this came out of last week's faculty meeting, was that this first round truly is a progress report. So if you have a 1, 2, or 3, this is the heads up, this is where you're at. Teachers, talk to your parents, talk to your kids, and then when we come around the 9 mark, that's where you may lose those privileges. But this is, we're purposely being slow here, because this is something very new, because we're not at the target-based grading yet, we're simply at targeted behaviors. And then if you see the last 2 items, we're simply the idea of the incentive for 11th and 12th, and then the incentives for 9 and 10, and it was very clear from talking to the kids, because Tom worked with Interact, a variety of kids, that they wanted to say in this. And if you don't have something that you can give the incentive or the privilege, these really don't mean anything. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the reality, is that if the 2 and the 3 doesn't recognize what I'm trying to do here, for a kid, because this will not change that if a student's behavior is disruptive to the point where a referral has to come through Skyward or a removal to Tom's office or what have you, that is in addition to this. It doesn't eliminate us from still managing the classroom with progressive discipline or the building.
And it is very important. Years ago when I first had to do this, there was no bite to the citizenship grade, there was no incentive. The teachers really didn't understand why they were doing it. The students didn't really care about it. Obviously some parents perhaps did, but for the most part there was nothing tangible that went with it other than a citizenship grade, and there was no rubric, there was no identifiers like we have put in place here, nor was there any incentive. So it's in a pretty good spot right here.
So there's sometimes it's called a ticket, sometimes it's called a pass.
Yeah,
We've changed it to the pass.
So, and then I just want to share with the board, as a high school principal, I did come into a model that had a pass. It was the mascot pass at a high school level, and it was for juniors and seniors, and it was at any point in the school day, and they had to have a card with them at all times, and if they were to leave campus without that card, they were about to lose their privilege. So this, to me, is much more manageable, because that was a lot of work. It was a part-time job navigating this pass. So right now, you're talking about this time of day,
Right.
one little window.
Right.
And the goal is to reward them for, hey, things are going great, based upon the rubric related to your behavior, responsible, respectful, safe. On top of it, academics are hitting a bar of a level that is
Mhm.
passing grades, okay? So then, the one part I just wanna make sure that everybody understands is, like, so when they leave campus, it is off of campus. If they're
Yes.
going to leave, they are off of campus, so we don't get to hang out in the parking
No
lot.
jogging around.
Like, those are the kind of things that I learned was a big deal. So I had to go and police the parking lot, you know, just so
Yeah,
you're
once
aware.
they're out, they won't be able to get in with all the
So-
doors being locked, so we gotta kind of make sure they're off campus.
And
But
we want
then-
you out of building, off property.
But it'll be important for parents to understand, so there will be students that earn this privilege, and it's 30 minutes, but they'll have practice after school, they'll have to come back for practice.
And what'll happen there is that some of the athletic kids or the show player kids, they'll have a place where they can hang out in commons, or they can go to another teacher and get additional help if they so chose. Teachers can still request them even if they have the Cardinal Pass and they have to show up. It's more of a verbal, I need to see you today, so you better be there, and then that student will be there, otherwise they won't be being responsible, that'll affect them. So the teacher angle to get the student to come to their Cardinal time is still there. And those kids that are out for a sport or out and they're gonna come back anyway, they might just choose to stay, but we're gonna have a designated place for them, or they have to be in a classroom teacher's.
Well, what I think is great is that, so it says, students that earn the privilege but choose not to leave may study in designated areas such as commons, library, or lounge areas. And, I mean, you really do have some pretty great spots
It's awesome,
for the
yeah.
kids to be working in. So I think the building's designed to support something.
It is
like
now,
this
now we have the spots, I don't think that would have been, and the other, in addition to the compliance grading piece that was driving this as well, the other reason of making sure that you're informed here is that before the possibility of literally releasing 180 kids into the community at 10 to 3 every day, you guys need to be aware that that's where we're at. But as Tom said, seniors that are requested to stay will not leave. Once you leave, you're gone. And Scott and I also talked about issues that if Tom has not made the grade, and I have, and I take Tom with me in my car as we leave, I got a problem. Just that's a purpose there that don't, you know, you're responsible for your car. Ms. Fink, question?
For clarity, to help me understand this,
Yep.
so would a student get a cardinal score from each teacher? So
Yes.
like a math, English, okay. And then would they need to, what's the cutoff for earning?
They need twos and
pass?
threes
Twos
from
and threes in
everybody.
all of them,
From
okay.
all of them, yeah. If they have any one,
Okay, a one is you don't,
yep, you
Yep.
lose the incentive.
okay.
And that is why we tried to shorten it to the true 4.5 week, because it's about growth and change, and that we believe that if a kid was at a 1 for 9 weeks, what's the incentive? So we want to try to meet them halfway.
And the good news now is progress reports are out, or soon to be out. This week with homecoming, there really isn't any Cardinal time this week with all the things that are happening. So this progress check is really gonna be about 3.5 weeks before the quarter grade comes out.
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue that we're facing right now, having gone through this, and this is why this first one is a true PR1 or progress report, is that the ones that appear, teachers, have you done your due diligence to speak with child and speak with parent? And that's what we want to make sure. We're going to go through all these tomorrow to see where those are.
So there's a system for classroom feedback that results in 1, 2, 3, responsible, respectful, safe. But then there's also the whole office piece. That's another layer. So you're getting all threes from classroom teachers. However, there have been incidences during lunch and in the hallway, therefore you don't have your Cardinal pass. So to me, it's the,
Yeah, Mr. Zarnot and I are in both lunches almost every day, and
to me.
the kids have been great in there overall. But if something should happen, you know, we would have that right to revoke if we saw a need.
As would attendance or,
Yeah, attendance is in that, and
and like I said, we want to go about this slow and very deliberate, because this is something very new to parents, new to us, new to kids, new to teachers. And ultimately, where this starts to prepare people, where Mr. Clark's building is already at, is that you start to see 3 2s and 1s attached to behavior as you move toward 3 2s and 1s that are attached to learning pieces. You're used to that language, but we're not there yet. So this was a FYI, and we'll bring an update back, but I want to thank Tom for his work with our students to give us feedback on where they would like this to be. I think they've been very patient as we work through this.
Oh, they're ready.
But they're ready.
They're ready to go on the fast track. We're not quite on the fast track.
Keep us,
We will.
abreast of things go along.
I didn't know whether it was still.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I thought I did something with the computer, it just shut down, that's what happened, so.
Yeah, mine
Maybe
did too. I had
reboot
to
it.
follow up to reboot, yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem, just keep her moving. Yeah. Ryan?
I got a ton of stuff for you guys. I needed Scott's
Yeah,
projector
very
to not
definitely.
go down at this time.
This looks good when you had on here, but me.
You have paper? It'll come up.
Okay, so I gave, I emailed out on, I think it was Saturday, kind of a summary of what I was gonna cover. I did update it, so on the front page there, you'll see all the stuff we're gonna cover. I have an open enrollment and or enrollment report, the revenue limit worksheet, 2020 equalized value and levy worksheet detail as of today, high point summation of the budget adoption format, and then the notice that'll go in the paper, and then some of the stuff that we have going ahead. So the first page is really a detailed 2-year enrollment and 5-year open enrollment in and out history. The third Friday count was recently done. As of that third Friday count for this school year, we have 1,065 as our membership count. Last year we had 1,098, so it's down 33. This is not on the FTE, it's 1.0 for every single kid. So that's literally 1,098 pupils. I put 2 different plus minus columns in there. One's at a grade level. You can look at, say, 3rd grade. Last year we had 67, this year we have 69. It's not really an indication of anything that's going on in 3rd grade because those kids are, moving up a grade. So that's why I added the plus minus at the, I called it promotion level. So maybe you can look, last year we had 67 3rd graders. This year those 3rd graders are now 4th graders, and we have 59 of them. So there was a little drop off there, and you can see in every one of those columns kind of the pluses and minuses. You can see our 9th grade class this year is at 99. Last year that 8th grade class was 87. So we picked up 12 freshmen in addition to that 8th grade count last year. So that's what those 2 numbers are. The numbers on the right is a history of open enrollment. The top box has the regular education and special education dollar assignments by year since 2016. You can see that it's gradually gone up. Below that is the 5-year history of open enrollment in pupils. That trend really hasn't changed too much. In 2016, we had 104 open enrollment in students, and this year we have 113. The regular ed and special ed has actually remained pretty constant. Below that is the 5-year history of out, so that's where you'll see stuff has changed pretty drastically. In 2016, we had 73 out, and then it went to 81, 82, 95, and as of today in Opal, we have 111 out. It's 99 regular ed, 12 special ed. And then below it, you can see the expense amounts and the increase each year. And then the final box, the district surplus of open enrollment numbers. There are actual numbers of pupils. Can you close that X on there? Or look up there. So back in 2016, we had a surplus of money for open enrollment of $274,721. We peaked in 2018 at $276,446. And the Opal numbers as of today have our open enrollment just being a surplus of $66,392. So open enrollment has hit us a little harder. Open enrollment out, I should say, the in has stayed pretty consistent. So I wanted to point that out, that's a big change in what our budget is at right now. We lost about 54,000 compared to last year, and if you want to go back to 2018, it's $210,000.